I'd like to introduce you to a fascinating sport, a sport that traces its roots back to 4500 BC, where the sole purpose is to see who can reach the greatest depths in the ocean on one single breath of air. It's considered to be an extreme sport for two very good challenges that it presents. The first challenge it presents is quite a unique one. It's the fear that is generated when you dive very deep, all alone, into the open ocean. And it's not just the sort of fear you get, like running out onto the football field, worried about being injured, but it's a far more primal fear. And by primal, I mean those innate alarm systems that are with us since birth that warn us when imminent danger is near. Like, for example, if you've ever crept up to the edge of a really steep cliff and taken a peek over the edge, that welling up, that knot you get in your stomach that just draws you back from the edge, well, that's a primal fear. And in freediving, that primal fear is about suffocation and isolation as you sink deep into the ocean all alone. The second challenge of freediving is the discomfort you experience as the water pressure of the ocean bears down on you. When you start swimming down, it's this beautiful turquoise blue, and then it goes to a dark blue, and then it goes to pitch black. And you might still have another minute of sinking all alone into the ocean. And with each meter you go deeper, the intensity of that pressure on you just crushes your body. So it's possibly for these two reasons that it's not a particularly popular sport. But I also think it's one of the most amazing gifts I've ever given myself. And this morning I'd like to share with you a little bit around why. So I first found out about the sport when I was living in this gorgeous area in the south of France. And I'd been working as a sports psychologist for a number of years, working with athletes that did quite dangerous sports, like I worked with a big wave toe-in surfer, a base jumper. I was working with guys that do cage fighting. And actually, then I started working with some guys that race in MotoGP. And these bikes do like 340 kilometers per hour, screaming around a racetrack. I was just amazed by these guys. I mean, the amount of calm and just this poise that they had before going out and doing something truly terrifying. I was just drawn to it. I wanted part of that for myself. And I thought, well, one day I remember waking up and just thinking, I'm a total fraud. I mean, here I am teaching these guys how to scream around a track faster, jump off a taller cliff, yet I've never done anything dangerous myself. I thought if I could just maybe find a dangerous sport and have a go at it, then maybe I'd be able to better connect with my athletes, and maybe I could even learn how to take on risk myself. So I looked around, and in the south of France, there were two sports that caught my eye. So one was bullfighting, and the other was freediving, fortunately. So I just went and joined a local club in the south of France. I joined a club, and when I joined, there were guys there that were holding their breath for over 6 minutes. 6 minutes. Now, it's difficult to describe what it's like to hold your breath that long. But needless to say, it's really uncomfortable. I'd liken it to doing anything in life that denies your body of something that it requires to sustain life. So like, for example, if breakfast, that you had this morning, if that's the last meal you're allowed to eat, assuming you're allowed to sip water, how long do you think you'd last without food? Give it to me in days. 3 days, come on. You know better than that. 10 days? It's actually 27. 27 days you can go without food. What about sleep? Some of you might have tried this. How long can you go without sleep? 3 days? It's 10 days. And then you die from lack of sleep. But these are massive times. I mean, like 27 days without food, 10 days without sleep. I mean, these are incredible times. The human body is capable of achieving so much. Yet what we also know is that after just a very short amount of time, you start to fixate on that thing that you don't have. You just get completely absorbed by it. And it's the same in freediving. In fact, what fascinates me the most about freedivers is not who can hold their breath the longest, but what happens to a freediver when they start holding their breath and they get through to that point where the breath hold turns. It's usually around the 3 or 4 minute mark. And then they just consciously decide, I'm going to go for another 4 minutes. Like, what goes on for the person when you've got this 4 minutes of just pure discomfort? Now, I have a breath hold challenge for you shortly this morning. The goal is not to see who can hold the breath the longest. It's not the goal. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to hold your breath just to the point where your breath hold turns and it becomes uncomfortable. And then what I want you to do is I want you to give me 10 seconds of pure discomfort. 10 seconds, that's all. And in that 10 seconds, I want you to become very conscious, very aware of where that discomfort it manifests itself. Like, is it in your head? Is it in your throat? Is it in your chest? So just like a freediving competition, I'm going to give you a countdown. I'm going to count you down from 15 seconds, and on 3, 2, 1, I want you to put a huge amount of air into your lungs, and then you're going to put your right hand up, and you're going to hold your breath. Now, if you haven't had breakfast this morning, if you have any sort of prevalent heart condition, or are you pregnant, just sit this one out. For everyone else, you're fair game. Right. Okay, so sitting nice and comfortably in your seat. Try not to use any postural muscles, just get nice and comfortable, and begin the process of relaxation. Again, it's not a long breath hold we're going to do. We're going to do a short breath hold. To the point where it gets uncomfortable, give me 10 seconds. Okay, here we go. In 15 seconds from now, nice and relaxed. Slow your breathing down. 10 seconds. And in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Big breath in. Right hand up. We're underway. Nice and relaxed. Sink into it. 10 seconds. If your eyes are open, pick a spot in front of you to fix your gaze at. If your eyes are closed, even better. 20 seconds. Try to relax your shoulders, relax your neck. That's where we hold most of the tension. Switch it off. 30 seconds. I want you to relax your jaw, your tongue where it rests in your jaw. I want you to show no facial expression. Just switch it off. You can add 30 seconds to your breath hold just by switching off your facial expressions. That's 50 seconds, coming up to 1 minute shortly. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1 minute. Ooh, a lot of hands went down then. Okay. Good. If your hand's still up, you're doing great. You're probably going to start experiencing this discomfort in your throat soon, where your throat wants you to bring in breath. It's okay. It's normal. It's not a danger sign. It's just normal. You're needing some air soon. It's okay. Stay relaxed. Stay focused. 1 minute 20. Switch off your shoulders. Stay relaxed. Very good. 1 minute 30. I can see still a bunch of hands going up. If you're sitting next to someone with their hand up, please give them some encouragement. Oh, good. Well, I'm seeing some discomfort happening, that's for sure. Okay, you've got 10 seconds left until we reach 2 minutes. Hands up loud, high if you're still going. I can see a few left. And in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Please breathe. Very good. Congratulations. That was awesome. Well done if you held your breath for 2 minutes. That's a big breath hold for first thing in the morning. Who gave me the 10 seconds of discomfort? Be honest. Most of you. Good. And where did you experience it? Who felt it in their chest? So you felt it in your chest? How would you describe it? Tightness. Anyone feel it in their throat? Yeah, and it's like a needing to swallow sort of feeling. Anyone get like a really hot head? Yeah, so what's happening there is your body is very cleverly now starting to circulate the blood around the head and core and less around your arms and legs, and you get this flush, hot sensation. It's quite an unusual one. Discomfort is never a particularly nice thing to have to deal with, but if you understand your reaction to discomfort, it means you can overcome a great deal. My greatest challenge when it came to dealing with fear and discomfort came a few years ago at a World Cup freediving competition in the Bahamas. For 10 years, I'd been training and competing in World Cups and World Championships, and the deepest I'd been is 80 meters. In this competition, I'd set my heart on going for the penultimate dream of the freediver, which is to get down to 100 meters. And it's something that only a handful of people have ever done. So I traveled to the Bahamas to the spot called Dean's Blue Hole. You might have seen it on some videos. If you ever see freediving, this is pretty much the spot they use. It's a limestone shaft that just drops down into the ocean 200 meters deep, straight off the beach. I can literally be here on the sand, dry, and there, it's 200 meters deep. It's an eerie place. There's a little platform in the middle where we dive from that runs ropes deep down into the water, and underneath there's like tarpon fish and barracuda that just swim menacingly around. My training had been going great, but on the day where I had to dive for the 100 meters, as I was swimming out, I could notice it was getting dark and there were clouds coming in. And as I was swimming towards the platform, the diver before me surfaced and he collapsed. And he spewed blood out from his lungs. I pulled myself up onto the platform and there was just chaos happening. I just sat there and it was really, the gravity of what was about to take place was inescapable. And then they called me over, clipped onto the line, and they say to you, 2 minutes, and you have to go on 2. And I lay there, and when I heard that count, 2 minutes, I switched into this kind of mode where I just felt ready to dive. I felt excited and felt super relaxed. And on 3, 2, 1, go, you roll over and you start diving. Now, the first 20 meters is comfortable, but you have to swim pretty hard to overcome the buoyancy of all that air that's in your lungs. And then once you sort of get to 20 meters from the surface, then the weight of the water above you now pushes you down. So you can stop swimming, bring your arms down, tuck in, and start to sink. By 40 meters, it's starting to get very dark, and you're starting to get crushed by the water. And at 60 meters, your lungs are now the size of a grapefruit. The pressure of the water around you starts to crush your throat, and you're completely isolated with no way of rescue other than yourself. Sinking alone into the open ocean is one of the most solitary things you can do on the planet. The fear, the brutal discomfort of the water crushing you as your chest shrinks to half of its circumference. The same pressure on dry land would cause massive internal damage. At 100 meters, I opened my eyes and I saw the base plate lit up by lights, and I reached for my tag and my mind was screaming for me to do it fast. I turned and started my ascent, swimming really strongly back up. And then after 3 minutes of swimming, my brain said to me, something's wrong. It was still pitch black. I swam in a circle, trying to look for the guideline, and I couldn't see it. I couldn't even see my hand in front of my face. And my mind said to me, you're still at the bottom. You're hooked up. And in that moment, I went from euphoria across into terror. I was thinking, should I detach my lanyard? Maybe I'm hooked up at the base plate. But then if I don't make it back to the surface, they'll never find me. So I just decided to swim as hard as I could and swam for another minute. And then I eventually made it back to the surface. When I did, it was the most exhilarating experience. Relief as well. But in that moment, it taught me who I was and what I was capable of achieving in this life. For the next 3 months, I would wake up every morning brimming with this smile, just thinking that I had achieved the impossible. The next challenge for me is to do something even a little bit more kind of different. I'm going to travel to the North Pole, where the goal is to become the deepest man under ice. And the reason I'm going is because I believe that it's time for me to move away from the traditional sport and move right out to the boundary, to the fringe of the sport, to see if I can disrupt something, change something, innovate. And there are some big challenges from going to the North Pole to try to be the deepest under the ice. There's the orca, there's the polar bear, there's the narwhal with the funky horn on it that you know, under the water. But there's also the extreme cold temperature. It's sub-zero, and a typical wetsuit is really thick, right? It's really thick, and it's not streamlined, and you feel like a walrus trying to swim down in it. So I've been working with companies in New Zealand, Australia, and over in Switzerland to come up with a material that doesn't currently exist, a material that's very thin, that has a yarn through it that carries a conductive pulse. So you run electricity through this suit, and it heats up as it resists the current. And we're trying to make it wafer thin to wear under a wetsuit so that the pseudo wear can be really thin, super flexible, and keep you toasty warm. So if it sounds interesting, then we're looking for partners. Don't have to necessarily come to the North Pole. The thing freediving has taught me is that to achieve something great in life, you have to take positive, calculated risk. It's not easy or comfortable, but anyone can learn how to do it. When it comes to your dreams, what are you prepared to risk to make them a reality? We live in a society that's becoming increasingly risk adverse. Playgrounds have rubber cushion surfaces so kids don't scrape their knees. Toddlers wear helmets to ride the tiniest of scooters. And in organized sports, for our kids, they no longer keep score because they're worried that kids will experience failure. But it's through this failure that they learn how to cope. As a nation, we're not particularly productive, not productive enough. We're not innovating fast enough. And managers who are risk-adverse block creativity, they stifle innovation, they resist the very changes that organizations need to make to grow and succeed. Strong leadership is not about following the rules or playing it safe. Strong leadership is about having a vision for something truly important, a goal worthy of a struggle. So where do you need to be more courageous? Every time you set yourself a new challenge and you overcome it, that's what leads to happiness. It's the most amazing form of self-development. Every time you take on a challenge, it changes the way you think. It enables you to extend your limits and break free of the ordinary way of thinking. So I encourage you, maybe today's the day that you set yourself the next adventure. Be bold, be brave, and find that thing inside you that ignites a new spark. Thank you.